Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me. You are most welcome as always. Well, here we are. It's part 3 of the Magic of Matchbox, which is going to be the final episode. However, I had a bit of a rethink about that, simply because when I said the final episode will be the purple range, which is all the smaller kits, which many of you will have, like me, will have built and had when you were younger. There's so many of them, I realised that this video would, to do any justice, even a little bit, would go for hours, so that's out of the question. So I've decided to split it into, we're going to have a fourth final video. So this is number 3, and we're going to look, in this video, we're going to look at the purple range, the popular pocket money range. And you can see, actually, I've got one here that says 72p on the front. That was probably in the 80s, but anyway. We're going to look at aircraft, including the helicopter, the Cobra as well, but we're going to look at the planes. And these are going to be very familiar to most of you that watch this video. I am absolutely confident, and hopefully it'll bring back some positive memories. And somebody put it to me, it's like a time machine, watching these videos like a time machine, because it does look a bit like the shop front window, and maybe it'll make you feel young, maybe it'll make you, what was the quote in the Inception movie, if any of you have seen that, where Leonardo Di Caprio goes back near the end of the film, and the end of the start are kind of similar, and he goes back to get Mr. Sato, played by Ken Watanabe. He goes back and he finds him eventually, and he says, he's become this grizzled old man, and he says, why don't we go back and be young men together again, like we once were. Maybe we can do that today with these model kits, you never know. Let's have a look then and see what we've got. So, first of all, I want to draw your attention. I've actually included, I said this is the purple range, but I've actually included the Buccaneer, which we didn't include in the orange range, and there's a reason I decided to do it separately. Basically, have a look at this artwork. I think you find this interesting. I know that you're going to start nodding your head in a second. Here it comes. So what we're going to talk about is this Buccaneer, like a couple of the others where they've shown things on the artwork. This Buccaneer's got some £1,000 bombs, I think they are, in fact, under the wings of both aircraft. And this is a classic case where there's a bit of a mismatch between the artwork, beautiful though it is, and they're over on an exercise on the Air Force training exercises in Germany. And it's a Larbrook-based Buccaneer, I think that's 16 Squadron? Yeah, 16 Squadron. The little Saint on the tail, they went on to convert to Jaguars at a later date, I think, based at Lossiemouth. But they're in Germany, this is the early 70s, it's 1973, so this is exactly the time that I was living near Huntington, and I was seeing these Buccaneers actually, just like this, but not this squadron, it was 12 Squadron. But some of this artwork, we talk about the artwork a lot, because it's such a big part of the Matchbox appeal and the attraction that made you want to grab the kit, you know. But this particular one, and one we'll come to in a second, one of the purple range, bit of a problem, because the artwork was clearly, the details are given to Roy Huxley to produce beautiful artwork, as he always did. But there's a mismatch, because the contents of the kit do not quite match the artwork, and in this case there are no bombs or stores of any kind included in this model. And interestingly, the artwork on the back, which I suspect probably isn't done by Roy Cross, because it's more of a diagrammatical bit of box art just to show the colour call-outs, and I think this is just done from a tracing sort of thing. I don't think it's an artist as such. And you can see already that there's a difference between the box art. There's no sign of any weapons under those wings at all, which is a bit naughty. So that is a little bit of a rare disappointment in a Matchbox kit, where you think you're going to get something, and of course, as I mentioned, I live near an RAF base at Honington in Suffolk, and I've seen them flying past with weapons and stores on. So I was very disappointed with this kit, not because it's a bad kit, it goes together nicely just like the rest of them, you know, and it's got the nice colours, but it didn't have any weapons, so he said, why have you got bombs on, you know? Now you can understand people complaining. I don't think it's justifiable to say, why aren't there 2 in the kit? But I think it is justifiable to say, why aren't there bombs which are clearly shown under the aircraft? There's not that many bombs, don't show them. You know, that's a bit stupid. And they did it again. With this, now we get to the purple range. The Dassault Mirage, so I'll start talking about this one. Same again, look at this. This is South African Mirages, and they are flying around the Cape of Good Hope 1964, it says here. Looks great, very typical loadout for the Mirage to have long range tanks on like that. And then when you get round in the back, we've got the same problem again. It's quite rare in Matchbox. I sound like I'm being critical, I'm not trying to be. It's because it's so unusual that I thought I'd point it out. And they did the same on the Strike Master. So there's 3 that they did it with. On the Strike Master, they showed it firing the Matra 155 rocket pods like you get on the Phantom and the Harrier. Nothing like that included, just these weird short rockets, under rail type rockets, which the Saudi Air Force were going to use. But the artwork depicts the New Zealand Kiwi Air Force firing these Matras. So again, it's very frustrating that this must have happened. And I think it was a mismatch between, you know, they were probably given a reference photo of a Strike Master or a Mirage, and the artist Roy was told to do an artwork, a nice dramatic artwork that's appropriate. And somewhere along the line, somebody didn't get didn't get the memo, perhaps didn't get the memo, and the poor artist had produced something that was turned out not to be correct, that they didn't actually tool for. And in this case, which is the really naughty one, I think, if you get one of the later editions from about 1979, 1980, I think, onwards, because the original one is an early one, isn't it, 73. But they changed the artwork, and they got Roy Huxley to literally remove the tanks, so it wasn't showing the tanks anymore. And if you see, you'll see them. You can see several of these. So this is an original with the tanks on, and they should be in the kit. And there was a bit of an uproar from a lot of people that bought this for their youngsters, me being one of those youngsters, and said, "Well, where are the tanks then? Now that is bad. You know, again, we don't expect 2 planes, but we do expect it to be depicted exactly as it is on the artwork, the actual aircraft." So that was a very rare miss for Matchbox. So they weren't perfect, you know, nobody's saying they were perfect. And that did annoy a lot of it. I'm sure a lot of you were saying, yes, that damn annoyed me, you know. I mean, the Strike Master wasn't so bad, because at least you did get some sort of weapons and underwing tanks, but with this you got just nothing. And again with the Buccaneer, nothing. That's not really good enough. Matchbox, what were you thinking of? Anyway, I'm glad to say it was a very, very rare scenario for them. So let's cheer up, put a smile back on the face, and have a look at the rest. So now we're into the sort of warbirds, and I think this is meat and drink of what a lot of us grew up with, you know. So what have we got here? I've got some really old ones here, some real originals. We've got here the Brewster Buffalo. So any of those of you down under will certainly recognise this one, because I know it was a very popular seller in New Zealand and Australia, and I liked it too. I thought it was a nice aircraft. Just didn't do too well against the Zeros, unfortunately. And it says here, New Zealand Squadron 488 lose 2 aircraft and 5 damage against the force of 27 Japanese Zero fighters in the first combat mission in Singapore. They got mauled, I'm afraid. But it was a nice little play, but it was not a Zero killer, unfortunately. But again, it's a very dramatic battle going on. You can see the Zero over here flying around. Looks like he's actually got a Zero here. I don't know how true that was, but there we go. This one has got a most peculiar colour scheme, which is like a pale cream and red. Very, very unusual. In fact, look at the red. It's like a lipstick red. It's most bizarre. Really, really strange choice for a warbird. We see that again, you'll see it in a minute on the Nat, the red arrows, but that's okay. That's what you'd expect it to be, but I'm not sure about this. I think if they'd have been painted this colour, they'd have got even more of them would have got shot down, so I don't really understand that one, but there we go. But it's a lovely little model. I think we should, maybe because it's a bit unusual as well, for our friends down under and in New Zealand, I think we should, have a little look at this. East Indies, the Dutch East Indies, they were using them as well. Let's put those inside, shall we? I'm not going to open all these, I'm just going to get the odd one out. Just a little peek inside, look at this. Oh, look at that. Now then. We've got the canopy, it's just come out. Let's just zoom in to have a quick look at that. Here we go. Nice little canopy, isn't it? And Matchbox canopies were always good, they always came reasonably clear. They were quite thick, but they were okay, And then we've got this. You better put your sunglasses on, folks. Are you ready for this? Here it comes. Whoa! Look at that! That is not the colour to paint a warbird if you want to survive. It's like a big flying red target, isn't it? But as usual, we've got no flash. Somebody was saying as well in support of the Matchbox range in my first video about the magic of Matchbox. And this is obviously number 3, but the first one I was a bit apologetic, and somebody said, "Hey, but look, if you look at what the Airfix produced, you know, you got no cockpit. All you got was, you didn't even get a seat. Sometimes there's nothing in the cockpit, or there'd be the most basic seat, no pilot, or the pilot would just look like it was been melted by a ray gun or something, and there'd be no instrument panel, there'd be no stick. Well, Matchbox brought out a pilot, a seat, sometimes an instrument panel, you know, a stick, control stick." You didn't get this with Airfix at the time, and Frog, well, the least said about them the better. I hear a lot of nostalgia about Frog, which I don't understand, I've got to be honest. Not something to be celebrated really, because I don't think that they were worth anything. I hated them, I always hated them. I used to get them, 1 or 2 of them, and I always every time there were disappointments. I'm sure some of you perhaps have had 1 or 2 good ones, perhaps I just got put off and didn't see the better ones, I don't know. But there we go. To me, they were not in this league. I mean, I think it was the end of Frog when Matchbox came out, frankly. They certainly declined and seemed to disappear where I was living anyway. Didn't see much more of them. Well, here we've got the wings and the tail, and the engine, the prop. The little tiny plane, isn't it? It's not much of an aircraft at all. Well, there we go. It gives you a bit of a flavour about some of the gaudy colours that they sometimes chose. And obviously we've got our Buffalo proper purple instruction leaflet. Whoops! And the instructions just fallen out. This one doesn't actually have an instrument panel after what I said, just to prove me wrong on this occasion. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. At least you got something behind the glass, you know. And yeah, you get the option of wheels up, wheels down. But again, it's always worth remembering that the major raison d'etre of Matchbox was A, fun, or you could say A, appeal, B, fun, C, no need to clean up, no need to paint. And that, when you are a youngster and getting into modelling, and your dad's trying to encourage you to get, you know, my dad was an engineering draftsman, and a lot of you will know the stories I've already told. He's worked all over the place. He worked for a number of aircraft companies and shipbuilders as well. But he wanted me to get into doing something similar, or get into engineering, which I didn't do, but you can see he was very keen to get me interested via model kits, and he got me onto Airfix, and I think I was going to walk away from it. I was very disinterested and unmotivated by Airfix, but when this lot came out, wow, I was right there. Another one I remember from the first year, we've got 2 here. We've got the Spitfire and the Harrier. These 2 are quite special examples, so I'll zoom you in. These are Mark 1 boxes with the very first generation of lid opening box, which you'll see here. It says, I'll zoom out a bit, you might see it. There we go. So it has a lid that just pops off like so. And then on the inside of the box itself, look at the clever design they've gone through. They're aiming at younger modellers. So they've got a small parts paint guide here, your wheels and your prop and your pilot. And the side, it talks about the multi-pose stand, which of course was unique to Matchbox. And then the other side, the other end, you've got slightly different options for some of those small parts, leading edges, etc. It did amuse me that they didn't necessarily make that the clearest, but I think when you look at the 2, you can tell that they've got slightly different garb and slightly different prop colours and things. And then you've got your kit in this nice little box. Very colourful instructions. Again, then you've got your, in this case, more sensibly coloured, perhaps a bit of a bright green, perhaps, almost a Kermit green, but you've got a nice Battle of Britain green, a stand, a bit of packing that somebody's added, which is no bad thing, and then you got your brown Battle of Britain, brown wings, tails, seat, and a couple of radiator covers and gear cover. There you have it, and that's it. That's the contents of the box. Now this was, well, of course there's there's the canopy. Whoops, there it is. So this was retailing when it first came out in the UK. Certainly where I was, it was retailing for 25 pence, which was basically a week's pocket money. and I think the yellow, sorry, the orange range, the slightly bigger ones, were 45, 50p ish, thereabouts. But they came out a little bit later, a year or two later. The Harrier, another one, another classic here. And this has got another nice original top opening box, like so. Voila. On the side we've got some nice artwork. This has got slightly unusual colours. It's sort of a brown and it's like chocolate brown and caramel brown, or dog dirt brown as I often call it, because it is that sort of colour. Not quite sure why they went for this. Unfortunately, they've got a couple here that are off the Sprue. We've got a couple of examples of yeah, some of the wings are off there, but everything else is there on the Sprue here. You've got your bombs, some bombs in this one, look, no problem at all. Bombs, we've got Matra rocket launchers, so I don't know why you couldn't have those in the Buccaneer. Yeah, this one is off its Sprue a little bit, but we've got the main, one half of the fuselage is still attached, and the other half, I'm afraid, is free. But there we go. But you see the interesting colours, but oddly, these colours seem to be, I was going to say right, they're obviously not right, such, but we've got that lovely, typical, whoops, its decals have just dropped out, the lovely classic Matchbox instruction leaflet with a little bit of history. I mean, you don't even get that today, do you, on some kits? You know the ones I mean. The ones that come from China. They write very little more than that, if that much. None of it's in English. You don't know what you're doing. It's not particularly well designed instruction leaflets. This is simplistic, easy to follow for a youngster. If you're 10 years old, it's not a problem. Even an 8-year-old could follow most of these, you know. I mean, I was 7.5, I think. I was working it out. I was 7.5 when they first came out, and I was able to follow it. And these are the first kits I made on my own, to be honest. No problem at all. So, just going to pop that there. Pop that back in there, like so. It's beautiful, you know. They're a kind of a pleasure to handle, and as I said in the other video, you're transported back in time by it, aren't you? Even down to things like, you know, the box, and this one's got, again, it's got the little paint guide on the end of the box for you, and it's like a time machine looking at these things. One of the reasons I spent quite a bit of money on various kits like this, I just wanted to be back in 1975. That feeling of wonder and joy looking at these things, you know. It's really nice, isn't it? It takes you right back. Look at this. The multi-pose stand, yeah. I think, especially with these original boxes, especially nice. Great fun, you know. And you remember the things you did. I mean, I remember I had a friend that lived just only about 100 yards away from my house, and we both had our Harriers, and he'd done his in the American AV8A decals, which was a good thing because we didn't get the two models mixed up. I had the RAF one, he had the American one. We were kind of operating in cooperation, you know, like a joint exercise. It was brilliant. And he had his fin antenna on the back, and obviously I didn't. But it was great, you know. And I remember that friend, a lad called Philip, and so I was about 8 at the time. And it all comes back to you, doesn't it? It all comes back. Anyway, never mind reminiscences. Let's have a look at these others and see what you think. So, careful how I do it. I've got some absolute classics for you here. I've got the Focke-Wulf 190. And this is another one of these original Mark 1 1972/73 boxes with the top opening. In fact, do we have a date on here? Let's just see if it says. Yeah, 72. Look at this. Can you see that? 1972. So it really is 50 years old. Okay, and this is why we're having this little celebration, if you like, of Matchbox kits to enjoy them again. And you've got JG51 fighter unit on the Easter front, and then we've got Unit SG1 in Crimea, 1943. Look at that. On the side, you can see this one. They've really nailed it in terms of the colour choice. They've got it spot on really. Look at the actual plane, that's the proper colours. And here's the plastic. It's almost identical. I have to say, it struck me when I saw this one for the first time. Because I didn't know what the German, when I was that age, I didn't know what the German colours were supposed to be. And I thought, what stupid colours? And then I realised, it's just a child thinking, you know. And then I realised that actually they were really close to what it should be. And it then made me look at the others and think, well, why is that one such a stupid colour and nothing related? You know, like the Heinkel 111, it's got multiple weird browns all over it, very odd. Anyway, ta-da! Here we go again, look at this. With a mint original instruction set. This is nicely printed, this one as well, look at this. Oh, it's 50 years ago. It's 1972 all over again, look at that. Isn't it nice? It looks like it was printed yesterday, this one. Got some decals inside. They don't look like they were printed yesterday, I'm afraid. Actually, they're not that bad. They're not that bad. I've seen worse. But they never age well, the Matchbox decals, I'm afraid. Whereas their instructions are actually brilliant. The back is all the different languages. This is the very Genesis original version, original design, with the hot hints inside, showing you all the ways to glue things and how to paint them. And don't put too much glue on. It says, look, don't overdo your gluing. Little hints. There you go. Don't plaster it on. Paint on the sprue. Now then. Painting on the sprue, that's considered to be wrong and criminal today. Yes. Better be careful. Some people got in a lot of trouble for painting on the sprue. One famous modelling guru, a leader and inspiration to all of us, and he got into a lot of trouble with some people who thought that that was absolutely heresy. I did it myself even today, I've got to say. But and he was accused of not being a serious modeller if you're painting on the sprue. It's childish. It also saves time. But anyway, we digress. Each to their own. Anyway, back to these instructions. Check it out. Look at that. It's a nice seat in this plane, look. Oops. I need a bit more zoom for you. Nice seat in the plane, fuselage halves going together, tail planes. You've got your cannons here on top. Whoops. Cannons on the top, look. What are they? 30mm? Are they 20mm on the top and 30 on the wings, I think, on the FW, aren't they? Yeah, that's right. From memory. Yep. All going together, and then you've even got a bomb. Bomb under the centre line. Look at that. Now that was considered a real luxury, especially in one of these the cheaper pocket money kits often didn't come with any weapons, but it's a real bonus when you get them, like the Harrier did. That had bombs and rocket pod, didn't it? So there you go. That's a bit of a feast for your eyes. I think I've spoiled you a bit there, to be honest. Well, look at the plastic. You want to see that? Yeah, of course you do. Oh, okay. Check it out. It's quite a loud Kermit green again, a bit like the Spitfire, but at least it's the right sort of basic idea. And you can see that, you know, it's actually got some raised panel lines on this side. Not all of them, just some of them. Not sure about that. I don't think that's particularly common on these. No, it's not raised panel lines on the fuselage, as you can see. That's recessed panel lines here. Nicely done as well, actually. That's quite nice. And you've got your prop and your spinner, the carriage, engine, radial engine. BMW engine, isn't it? Was it Daimler? I always get mixed up with the fuck off on that. Is it Daimler or BMW? Yeah, BMW. Oh, right. BMW 139. Yeah, that's right. And then you got your bomb. Look, check it out. How cool is that? Your cannons. It's all nicely modeled. And again, look at that. You know, you're a youngster. You don't want to be messing around, clean up flash, and you don't want to do that. You just want to put it together like a jigsaw puzzle. You want to put it together like a puzzle. And that's what you got with Matchbox. You got something that was bright, attractive, easy to put together. Do it in a day or an afternoon, even. You know, not many parts. That's what you want. That's what kids really wanted, to keep their attention and make it, you know, a model that you can build one weekend, and then next weekend you go out and buy another one, and you build another one, and collect them on a shelf or whatever. Anyway, of course, stating the obvious. Look at this, another one then. Hurricane 2C, ground attack fighter, look at this. And this one's shooting up the Kamikaze airfield at Caen in Normandy. Shooting up all the Junkers on the ground, look at that. Lovely artwork again, Roy Huxley at his finest. Very, very nice. I should just make a comment as well about that. This, just going back to the Spitfire. This is the one that I've said in the past I wasn't very enamoured with the artwork. I thought this was a bit below par. Spitfire shape wasn't brilliantly, wasn't right, was it? Very unusual, this. And for those of you that haven't seen my video about the art of Matchbox kit, in his book of the same name, Roy Huxley actually shows this picture, and he says, yeah, he said, I have to admit that this wasn't my finest work. It was one of the very first two he did, this and the Hawker Hind. He said, and I had to work off an Airfix Spitfire. He'd never done aircraft before, he was new to it. He said, and I used the Airfix Spitfire as a template and model. This is a bit of an insult to Airfix. But he wasn't wrong, because I remember the Airfix model was very square around this area and looked a bit weird. So I had that kit before this came out, I think about 1971. And it wasn't I got my dad to build it, and I wasn't building it myself when I was 6 or 7. But it never quite looked right, and it was odd that this looked the same, and that's why, because he actually copied the Airfix kit, which wasn't really quite correct. The lines are wrong, it's too square. Too square here, very much too square all the way along the fuselage, it looks all wrong. So he later upgraded and did it again, and he did a beautiful job this time, of course. But I just thought I'd point that out, talking about artwork. No problems with this Hurricane though. And again, you've got the typical Matchbox thing where you've got a load of adverts on the side for all their other products. And we've got a number of them, a couple of them here. We've got the Nat and the Dooley Bird Mustang P51D, which we've got to see in a second. It's over here, just to the right, he says. I'm not lying, honest, it's here. There it is, and there's the Nat. So, a lift top box again. Just comes off like so. Look at that. Oh, and we've got the, on the side we have the, again, some slightly strange colours. We've got the Harrier Brown, shall we call it? The dog dirt brown, and the cream that was in the Buffalo. It's a very unusual combination. I don't think that would do a night fighter any favours. We've got the stand, we've got the sprue, this one's all intact this time. Nice sprue. And they've done this nicely. Raised panel lines only because it's the raised ribbing effect of the canvas. The ribs and the canvas, of course, which is quite right. And then we've got, stop the background interfering with the focus. You've got the quite nicely figured wheels. It's a nice kit. And cannons, look at the Hispano cannons. First time cannons were used, I think, on these. There you go. And I won't go through the instructions again on this one because it's kind of the same sort of style, but yeah, really nice instruction leaflet, and then this rather curiously cream coloured plastic. I don't know why they chose cream. I think that was Matchbox's biggest problem in a way. I think if I could sort of go back in time and give them some advice, I would just, all I would say is it's fine, just be more careful with your choice of colours on your plastic. Because one or two of the choices were a bit bizarre and didn't really do it any favours, especially when they come up with these very gaudy colours like in that Buffalo. It does make it a bit too much like a toy, doesn't it? I think if you can keep it more like they did in the what's the plane a lot of time, they said they've got the colour just right, the Focke-Wulf 190, spot on, isn't it? Mustang, another original top opening box, same sort of form. Here we've gone for the other brown, chocolate brown from the Harrier. Interesting choices. So we've got drop tanks for the wings, which is nice. Look at that, wing drop tanks. Yeah, very nicely, all nicely figured. Superb. Same old thing. Instructions, Dooley Bird. P51D, and then pale blue. pale blue wings, tails. Full-bladed prop, of course. Very nicely done, very nicely done. Put that one away. Introduce you to another of the old-time classics. Messerschmitt MEBF 109E from the Battle of Britain, or as it's seen here in North Africa, 1941. June 41. Look at that. Now again, what was I just saying about strange plastic colour choices? Look at this. Yellow and brown, really? I suppose the yellow is sand coloured, is that what they're thinking? Given that it was a Battle of Britain playing as well, you'd have thought that they would show a bit more restraint, really. And it's got an unusual couple of choices here for the markings. You've got the JG27, which of course Joachim Marseille, the famous fighter race, was the king of the skies of North Africa. That was his squadron. And then you've got the Romanian option as well. I'll just have a little peek at this. Now this is not the top opening, so it's not actually as easy to get into as some of the end opening boxes, which I must admit I don't like as much, but they became the norm. And of course it was copied by Revell, that as well. Let's just see if I can tease it out. There we go. I always end up with the oh, we've got a nice that's a nice canopy. There we go. It's quite a nice one, isn't it? It's still on a bit of sprue, which is quite unusual. Obviously we've got the typical markings. Swastikas, eh? You don't get those today either. See? They weren't embarrassed about it. This is before Germany started to deny its history. Revising history, I think it's called. We don't like that. Listen, not just talking about Germany either. It's there's a lot of that around these days. You can't erase history. You can't revise history. It happened. So just get over it, yeah? That's my rant over. Anyway, usual thing. 109E, very simple instructions. Again, you can build that in an afternoon. It's so straightforward. You've even got a little, you've got the machine guns, a bit like the FW190, got the machine gun, the cannons on top that go on a separate panel. Just so nice, isn't it? It's a dinky little instruction leaflet, you know. Absolutely brilliant. The only thing you've got to remember on this particular kit is if you want to have the cannon, I'm sure there's something changed here. It actually, yeah, it actually says, can you see this? It says 1973. Oops. You're not going to see it like that, are you? 1973, can you see that? Made in England. Matchbox 1973. Oh, sorry, it doesn't say made in England. It normally does, funnily enough. I think, does it say it on the sprue? Yeah, it says made in England on the sprue instead. I know it always says it somewhere. There it is, made in England. And you've got your other sprue with your wings on, your tails, etc. Nice, very nice kit. Super that, super. Takes me right back. And it's a really particularly stunning bit of artwork for this basic economy range. You don't get art that is much more evocative than that. He's just shot down a hurricane and crashed into the desert floor, as you can see. Big dogfight with another hurricane going on. Beautiful piece of work. So what does that leave us with? Well, we've got a few more, as you can see. How about something from the States, the Hellcat? And this is another astonishing bit of art. Now, this has got a story behind it, this one. Roy Huxley tells it in his book. And he said that this was particularly objected to in certain markets, maybe Japan, I don't know. But even in all world markets, he was asked to paint out all the violence. So it's actually a kamikaze suicide attack. And it actually says here, on this original version, it says, zoom in a bit so you can see it's better, so looking at me. Hellcat VF1 of the Hi-Hats roars from the flight deck of USS Yorktown during the Marianas Turkey shoot, June the 19th, 1944. Hi-Hats destroyed 37 of the Japanese aircraft. Combined force of 15 US carriers. 15! Wow, they really increased the carrier force, didn't they? Anyway, so as I was saying, that Kamikaze attacking, I was going to say it's a Zero, it's not a Zero, is it a Val? I'm not sure what it is, it's one of the bigger ones, dive bomber. That had to be painted out, and you can see the later versions where it's just a plain sky, you know. I mean, really, it's ridiculous, isn't it? But anyway, let's have a look at this. On the side, we've got, again, slightly curious colours choice here. Where it's a sort of a, why they didn't go for a blue and a green, perhaps might have been better for the sea. But they've gone for this weird sort of insipid green. And I don't know what you call the other colour. Is it mauve? That mauve? It's a very odd colour, like a browny green. Curious, very curious. That would be better as a tank, those colours, I think. A bit of armour. Anyway, let's have a look inside. I'm sure that some of those of you on the other side of the pond will probably have had a couple of these in the past. And Australia and New Zealand too. Because they were used by the Brits, they were used by everybody, weren't they, the Hellcat. You know what I mean? This colour of the plastic, it's very odd, isn't it? Look at that. What do you call that colour? Is it brown or is it green? I can't quite say. Very odd. Not a very pleasing to the eye colour, to be honest. Again, lovely purple instruction leaflet. And then we've got this very sickly, almost mushy peas, I'd call it, mushy peas green. It's a bit of a, considered something of a delicacy in England, especially in parts of the north like Yorkshire, where you mush up your peas, mushy peas. I don't like it myself, I never have it. It's not for me. I like my peas to be whole when I start eating them, at least. Anyway, there we go. So, let's pop that away. But that I have to just point out, this particular kit, it does enjoy particularly good condition. Everything about it is pretty much mint. A real beauty. What I should do, I should use the instructions to help prevent scratching, given that it is so mint. I'm going to put them in the middle, like so. There we go. That's like a bit of tissue there, but that, look at that box. The condition of this, it's beautiful. It's a real stunner. Here we go. Uss Yorktown, and then you've got a British Fleet Air Arm version. HMS Indomitable. That's 1945, look at that. So what was I just saying about the Allied forces using them extensively? Now then, the one you've all been waiting for, which keeps peeping at you in the background. The Messerschmitt ME262 Schwalbe, or Swallow. Look at this baby. Now this they've gone for the more sensible colours, I think. Sort of a grey and green, which makes a lot more sense. Look at this. We've got Unit Commando Novotny. Of course, Novotny Akma. Novotny was famous fighter race in these. He was actually shot down. I was watching a video about him a few weeks ago. I think he had a technical problem, but anyway, he crashed. You've got that, which is based at Akma in October 1944, or you've got the Edelweiss at the Rhine airfield in November 44. So here we have got another really iconic Matchbox kit, a real beauty. Let's have a nosy. I wasn't going to open all these, but I seem to have done so. The thing is, it's nice and quick and easy when it's a small kit. It doesn't take too long. Just have a quick nosy. Oh, that colour is a little bit odd. It's that strange mushy peas again that we just had in the Hellcat, isn't it? Not sure about that. I thought it was going to be a bit darker. Anyway, that's that. And then we've got kind of a pale grey with a hint of brown in it. I don't know who was choosing the colours or how they mixed the colours for these moulds. It's very odd. Nice moulding though. Look at that. Nothing wrong with it, is there? A nice little ME262. You know, it accurately shows the shape. Now I've got one of these actually built. And I've got to be perfectly frank, it wasn't exactly my finest hour in model building. I just chucked it together in a couple of hours and painted it in 30 minutes. Job done, you know. But that's the beauty of them. That's exactly what they were for. They were designed to do that, you know. And you've got your Junkers Umo jet engines there. Another nice, something a bit unusual jet fighter, isn't it? World War II. Let's bring you in for this a little bit closer. There we are. Usual thing. Putting your guy in his seat. You've got to build up your engines, pop those on. There's a top and bottom to the wing, which is good. And you get a bomb as well. Oh, a couple of bombs in fact. So you can have fighter or bomber version. Hey, you can please Hitler by putting bombs on it. Yeah. There we go. That's PK21, and this is the later, not I say later. It's kind of Mark II style of instructions, where they then, instead of putting it on the lift top box, they put this small parts paint guide. They put it on the back of the instructions, as you can see. A really nice little ME262, and again, you know, wholly free of flash. You can throw it together in an hour or two, job done. Which is kind of what you want when you're that age, I guess. That's what I want now. Anyway, let's have a look. Get that in there. That's over there. Pop that back in. Just a quick to rebox. There's no time at all. A little stand, you know, a little stand. Look at this is the little one for the Purple Rain. Look how small it is, because it doesn't need to be big, of course. But, you know, why can't the other manufacturers do this? Why? I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. It's a beautiful piece of design, simple, elegant, effective. That is another absolutely brilliant artwork, and yet again, in the book, this is another one that he had to repaint and remove all the violence. So he had to repaint it, and he ended up with just the thing just flying over all the aircraft, all the scene, all the drama, all the excitement gone. And Roy Cross said it really annoyed. Sorry, Roy Huxley. They're both called Roy, aren't they? That's unusual, isn't it? Both the best artists and models ever were both called Roy. But he was very cross about that. He said it completely ruined and anaesthetised it. And this is, of course, when people lost interest in them and stopped selling. Now then, I think we're going to go Hawker Tempest. Now, this is an interesting one because I was expecting this to have some weapons on it, but of course the Tempest didn't really, generally speaking, because it was a fighter. So this is fine. Now this is got an additional feature in that you've got the ability to do the Mark II or the Mark VI. So this is quite an interesting thing, you know, such a cheap kit. So you've got the traditional Mark VI here, which is the Tempest we all know and love, with a big radiator intake under the engine. Or you've got the later one, which also turned into the Sea Fury, of course, the Mark II, which doesn't have that arrangement. It's got a completely different setup with a radial engine. So obviously they changed the engine fitment and things, but I'm not the greatest expert on Tempest, to be honest. But it's a mighty, mighty machine and a real beauty. Now this is another one where they've chosen some very strange plastic colour. I think this is worth seeing because I hope you haven't eaten or just had your lunch or your dinner, because this might put you off eating if you do. Whoops. Little usual thing, the two clear parts. Now unfortunately we've gone to a black and white sheet, which is a bit disappointing. This is probably a later reprint. Not an aftermarket reprint, it's still an original from Matchbox, but they did a few of these where they seem to run out of ink and they just did them in black and white. But look at these colours. We've got like an olive green, dark olive green, and then we've got what can only be described, and it's beautiful moulding. The moulding's brilliant with this choice of the intake front, the different engine types, but it looks like dog dirt, doesn't it? It looks like something your dog has left in the, you know, tightly coiled piles on the lawn. Not very nice. What a colour. What were they thinking of? Why? Why didn't we just go with I don't know, one of the dark browns or the dark green? That's a very, very strange colour. But the panel lining is nice. It's, you know, it's a nice little model. I've actually got one of these. I think some of you may have seen it in the past on one of my other vids. I've got it in the UK style colours. I always liked the Tempest. So that was probably the best fighter we had in the war, really. After the Spitfire, but obviously in terms of development it was the best because it was at the end of the war one of the best piston prop planes Britain ever had, really. Went like the wind. Bum bum, pardon the pun. Hence the name Tempest, yeah. Anyway, there we go, that's the Tempest with its choice of engines. Mark II or Mark VI, and then we've just got two left, so don't worry, we've got another video to come in the not too distant future with armour. All the dioramas, you'll like that. That'll be the last one. So I think we're going to go with the Hawk trainer. Now this, in fairness, this particular box, it's not absolutely mint. It's in very good condition, it's just a little bit discoloration. It's almost like something got spattered on it, like coffee or something, unfortunately. It's a shame because the general condition is actually quite good. It's not bowed or anything. I have got one of these in Mark I form with the lift top box as well. But anyway, this is the Red Arrows, and they are, I think they're at Bridlington or somewhere forming here. Now, this is where we've got an interesting set of colours. We've got the right red, but then we've got this rather strange yellow. And I think the idea here, I think they were trying to be clever. It's not as silly as it might seem, because we used to have an air display team in the UK with the Nat, Fulham Nat, called the Yellow Jacks. And they were yellow, as the name suggests. So they've kind of covered both bases. So you can go for the Yellow Jacks, or trainer, or the Red Arrows. But there's no Yellow Jacks markings, unfortunately. Decal. Let's have a look, because this is worth seeing, just because it's quite. It says that. It's taped up, in fact. Oh, it's taped. Oh dear. Oh, not to worry. Not to worry. I think we'll have to leave that one. But I just want to draw your attention to one more thing. Look at the window, the unusually small window. Now if you look at the others, they normally have a window like that. And this one's got a much smaller window, yeah? Interesting. And that means it's one of the early ones, 1973. But, yeah. I didn't realise this was taped. It's taped from new, I think. Where's that open? No, it's definitely taped up. So that's a classic, so I can't open it, unfortunately. But as you see, the Red Arrows used to be down at RAF Kemble in the Cotswolds in the southwest of England. And they've got Little Rissington, that's the flying school, training school. So I think he's in Lincolnshire? I can't think, right. Anyway, last but not least, this one we can have a look at. Now this is one of the very first, I think it's the, what number is it? PK9, but this is a 1973, but it's one of the very first to come out on the market. And it's the Belly Cobra, of course. What a great model this is. Now I never had this first time around, I don't know why. Maybe I wasn't that interested in the helicopters. Perhaps because it was a US Vietnam subject. It wasn't really my thing at the time. But let us have a look at this. Oh, this is lilac coloured. The Purple Rangers turned lilac. How about that? That's cool. Didn't expect that, to be honest. So what we got here, we've got two pilots. We've got this pilot and a gunner, isn't it? Gunnery officer. And the gunnery officer sits at the front, of course, in the Cobra, and the pilot sits at the back. And then you've got all this unusual things for a chopper. You've got a gun turret at the front, which makes it pack quite a punch. There it is. And then you've got your tail. It's quite unusual. If you're not, if you're used to Matchbox Warbirds, it looks very different. This does. You've got a huge canopy. You've got a tail rotor, big twin, huge rotors, and then you've got those side sponsons, which hold all your weapons. So you've got, I think it's Zunny rockets and pepper pot. What's the other one? Two different types. I think one's a Zunny rocket and one's some sort of a multiple rocket launcher. 2-inch rockets, I think. And then on the back, of course, it's rather attractive lilac. You've got the Yeah, it's telling you to paint your Zunis. Oh, they're not Zunis though, are they? Zunis are normally in a 4, aren't they? Yeah, this is like the pepper pot style. Got to get them painted. I think it's black, D. Oh no, scarlet, red. Okay, so it's red, scarlet for the tips of the rockets. And then blah 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 blah. And there we have it really. And it mentions the stand, but of course this doesn't actually come with a stand because it's a chopper. So they deemed that was not necessary. Let's have a little look at this because it's a little bit unusual, the chopper. A lot of you won't have seen it. As I say, I didn't actually have this first time around. There's your skids. And you've got the cockpit interior, you've got your rocket pods. Great big rotors. Look at those. And they've got the balancer weights on the rotors. That's been very well done. And then we've got pepper pot rockets here. Again, it's a very dark brown, this. It's almost a black brown. Tail rotor there. You get your 2 seats for your crew. What does it say? Made in England. Any dates on it? No, I don't think there's a date. Yeah, Leslie 1973 it says on the inside of this one. If it focuses for us. 1973 it says there. So, it's a mighty fine looking Cobra, is that, I think? Wonderful. Tail at the top, top cover for the rotor, engine cover, the rotor shaft. And then you get the little rocket pods as mentioned here, pepper pot rockets, and your 2 crew. And there we have it. So, really nice, isn't it? It's a nice little model, that one. Won't be making this one though because it's really fine. It took me ages to actually get my hands on one of these that was in good condition. This is mint. So we're going to handle that with care. Not go building it, that's for sure. Too rare, too rare. Don't forget though, you can build them if you go and seek out one of the Revelry boxings. So if you see a Revel Cobra in 72nd scale, it'll be this. And they all have been retooled by Revell. Whoops. Try and Sprue with that a bit. There you go. There's that. So what do you think? That was quite a trip down memory lane, wasn't it? I could have got many more out. I've got, you know, Freedom Fighters and Hawks and all manner of stuff, Thunderbolts. We've seen some of them before, but I just thought I'd dig out 1 or 2 that some of you will probably particularly remember. Anyway, that's it for now. Hope you found it interesting. Quick trip down memory lane once again. Please tune into the final episode where we do the armour with the dioramas. We're going to be looking at all those lovely little tanks and armoured cars and things, half tracks, you name it, animags. Fantastic, all the little dioramas and Pumas, things like that. There'll be street scenes, there'll be, you know, desert scenes and buildings and all sorts of things. Definitely worth tuning in for. Thank you for joining me and taking the trouble to watch the video through, especially if you got to the end. Please stay safe, give us a thumbs up if you wouldn't mind. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have, ding the notification bell to make sure you get the alert when that last one comes up, and any future videos that you might enjoy as well. And until next time, thank you very much. Please look after yourselves and stay safe, and bye for now.